This is the Unit 2 review for MAC 1105. Questions 13 through 16 say to state the domain of the following function in interval notation. All right, so number 13, we have a quadratic. It's x squared minus 12. And because it's a polynomial, there is no denominator, there's no square root, nothing like that. We can conclude that I can plug in whatever I want. So the answer is all real numbers, negative infinity to positive infinity. In number 14, I have 1 over x minus 7. So we do have a denominator, and we know that denominator cannot equal 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is find where the denominator equals 0. Okay, so x minus 7 equals 0, x equals 7. So 7 is the spot where it makes my denominator 0 out. So I cannot include 7, but I can include the rest of the numbers. So the answer to this is all real numbers except 7. So to write this up in interval notation, I do negative infinity going up to 7, but not including it, union 7 to positive infinity. Okay, 15. I have a square root, so I have to look underneath the square root. Now, I can have a 0 underneath the square root, but I can't have a negative number. So what I'm going to do first is find the 0 out point. And to do that, I'm going to set x minus 4 equal to 0, x equals 4. Okay, so 4 is the value that makes the square root 0 out. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at on the left and on the right of 4. So, for instance, 3 is to the left of 4 and 5 is to the right of 4. So I'm going to put a little note, left, right. And I'm going to check by plugging in to see what happens. So on the left, I'm going to plug in x equals 3. And when I plug that in, I get 3 minus 4, which is the square root of negative 1. That's not okay because that produces a negative number. So I know that I'm not going to include negative infinity to 4 in my domain. To the right of 4 is x equals 5. So when I plug that in, I get 5 minus 4, which is the square root of 1. That is okay because that produces a real number. So when I write that up, I do 4 is included, and I'm going to the right, so going to positive infinity for my domain. All right. 16. G of x equals the cube root of x minus 4. Now, because this is a cube, remember I can have a negative underneath a cube root. So I can plug in whatever I want because negatives are fine with cube roots. So the answer to this is going to be negative infinity to positive infinity. So with the roots, you only have to be worried about the even roots like square root, fourth root, sixth root, eighth root, because you cannot have a negative underneath an even root. But for the odd roots, like cube root, fifth root, seventh root, that's okay to have a negative underneath it. So that's why 16 is all real numbers. All right, I'm going to go ahead and push forward to 17 here. For the function f of x equals negative 2x plus 4 and g of x equals 3x plus 5, find the following. So part A asks me to add the two functions together. So what that means is I have to add f of x plus g of x. And that looks like that. F of x equals negative 2x plus 4 plus parentheses g of x is 3x plus 5. Negative 2x plus 4 plus 3x plus 5. 3x minus 2x is x, and 4 plus 5 is 9. So x plus 9 is f plus g. B. Now it's saying to take function f minus function g. So that equals f of x minus g of x. So f of x, again, is negative 2x plus 4. And then I'm going to subtract off g of x, which is 3x plus 5. When you subtract off an entire function, use parentheses. So make sure you have the function inside parentheses, because a common mistake is to forget to distribute the negative sign to all of your values inside the parentheses. So this looks like negative 2x plus 4 minus 3x minus 5. When I distribute the negative sign, it changes the signs. So negative 2x minus 3x is negative 5x, and negative 5 plus 4 is negative 1. So f minus g gives me negative 5x minus 1. And now c, f times g. So I'm going to take f of x and multiply g of x by that. All right, so f of x is negative 2x plus 4. Because I'm multiplying, I'm going to keep that inside the parentheses, and I'm multiplying that by 3x plus 5. Again, putting these in parentheses. Now I will need to FOIL this out. So negative 2x times 3x gives me negative 6x squared. Negative 2x times a positive 5 gives me a negative 10x. 4 times 3x is 12x. And finally, 4 times 5 is 20. Now I have to combine like terms. So negative 6x squared, I'm going to combine negative 10x plus 12x, which gives me a positive 2x. And then plus 20. And that is my answer for f times g. Okay, thanks for watching. I'm going to do or pick up in the next video for question number 18.